Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you're all doing well and find yourself in good spirits. My Sunday's off to a pretty good start. I did my usual routine and went and got some food from a neighbor that slangs food. I'm supporting their business, their hustle, and getting something in return. Phenomenal Mexican food. Last week, one of my neighbors and friend I've known since 7th grade. Our families know each other going back, probably to the Bracero program. And, they went over there and bought a bunch of stuff because I brought them some tacos like 3 weeks ago. So today was the other neighbor's turn. And, I came and knocked on the door, and he's like, oh, shit. He started laughing when he saw me, and I'm like, hey, man, I told you. It was your week this time. So I brought him some food, right? And I just do it because it's good to share. And the conversation that preceded this was about cultura. We both could relate to people in Mexico having cenas. And that's when you would go eat at people's houses. You wouldn't go to a restaurant. You'd go eat at a house. And my earliest memories of those cenas was this really old woman whose poor fingers were like burnt. And she had one of those like sombreros, which is like an aluminum cooking pot that looks like a sombrero flipped upside down. So there's like a pit in it, and then a little shelf where you can kind of cook the tortillas. You dip them in the oil, and then they cook up there, and the meat is cooking in the bottom, right? And so this lady had dirt floors. She still had dirt floors, and it's interesting because she lived like, I don't know, 5 houses down across the street from where I lived, and there was really wealthy people that lived on that street, as well as people that still had dirt floors. It was mixed up pretty good, and I think that's how it should be, where it's not just all poor people concentrated in one place, all rich people concentrated in another. I like that, and those were good memories for me going over there. And I would go over there with my uncle, who he was kind of a spoiled kid, you could say. He spent his time like racing horses and fighting chickens, gallos, drinking, and partying, because his dad, my grandfather, could afford to give him that. He was the firstborn. My dad was the black sheep. That's why he came over here, and we went through the struggles we went through. But anyways, we'd go there and eat, and that was good memories for me. So when I can go to people's houses here and eat, it kind of gives me that memory, and I like it. And I've also heard that, and I haven't met them yet, but I'm sure I will pretty soon, that there's Vietnamese and Hmong folks doing the same thing. So once, I sniff them out, I'm going to be over there fucking trying to speak Hmong and eating some Hmong food or some pho, something. I'll go there and kick it with them like I will, Mexican people. So anyways, I'm all over the place, but coming back. So coming back, and I drop off the food, and I get blessed for just doing that. Like, oh wow, this is quite the blessing. Thank you. You don't have to. I just did it just because it's nice to share. But I got blessed, and then that reminded me of another time where, there was this farmer's market, and across the street from work, I'm already there getting some food and some produce, right? And they would sell flowers, and I remember like thinking, man, you get a hell of flowers for $5 and even more for 10. Like, this is a ridiculously good deal, because at the florist, you know, at least the florist I go to, if you want any kind of arrangement that's nice, and I'm talking about little ones, you know, you're paying over $60. So to get this big bouquet for $5 or $10, it just was amazing to me. And I thought, you know, I could spread a lot of joy for $5. I'm gonna get a big ass return on my investment. And that investment was just that person's happiness. So I buy the flowers, and I take them to, you know, this lady at lunch that, you know, at lunch. And I gotta be respectful. So, and this lady's my wife now. So I take her these flowers that cost me $10, and she appreciated the gesture so much that she took me out to this expensive ass dinner. And I was like, damn, that was a hell of a come up. And I wasn't doing it to come up. I just thought, man, I get a lot of bang for those $5. And I got hooked up like that. And so with these burritos, or not these burritos, this food I took, the joy was just that they would like it, and they'd be like, hey man, thank you for putting me up on that. And everything else above that is gravy. And like I said, I got blessed with a lot of gravy. So I wanted to make another video, and I didn't know how to like steer clear of a genre that I don't want to be part of without telling the story. But the best I can tie it in is that in thinking about today, you know, I realized that the person I'm going to tell the story about doesn't have these opportunities to connect with people and experience cultura from a place of more maturity and wisdom and appreciation for, you know, the time we got left to do the things we want to do. Back then, you thought you would live forever. And so I'm going to word this carefully. The first person that I shared a room with was at the reception center for wards of the state, NRCC. And so this is my first roommate in that place, right? And arriving to that place for the first time and having heard all the stories, you know that you're going to go through some rites of passage. You're going to see things that maybe you haven't seen before. And I'd already seen this stuff before I got sent there. You know, when I went to juvenile hall, I saw people with afros and fucking 16-inch arms covered in gang tattoos. And these are like high school age kids, but they ain't never been to high school. You know, they were the state-raised kids. And, like, it kind of blew my mind. And then, you know, you heard about, you know, this place for wards of the state from them, and we're told, you know, this is what it's like there. And so I think when we both got there, you know, we were like aware that we were going to go through some trials and tribulations, and you know, and mine I don't think were great by any means. Definitely not compared to the stories I've heard from other people. But when when he gets there, you know, he's got this blonde hair that's combed over to the side, like just a big comb over of blonde hair that kind of hangs over his face. And I think, oh man, they kind of put me with someone that's gonna, you know, not be strong. And he had a big Gina smile, Davis, like it took up his whole face when he smiled. And we hit it off. You know, we both knew we were kind of afraid of what lie ahead. And and thinking of how we had to be to survive. And so he was what people in his city called a disco bunny. You know, his city had a lot of raza there, and there was a big nightclub scene, and there was a lot of people that weren't into like gangs or what have you, that were part of that nightclub scene, and they were called disco bunnies. But they all navigated in similar circles, and some of the people he knew um, had formed this group, and I think he became part of the group in juvenile hall. Um, and so he tells me about that. He tells me about, you know, disco bunnies. Tells me about he would sell blast. You know, he'd buy like this rock for $40 and smash it up and lace parsley with it, and that was he'd sell those joints for like $25, and so he knew people from his city that were there as well, and so did I. I knew people on like the other dorms from hanging out in the streets together, and we reached out to them, and we kind of instigated where every dorm went off, and started it. You know, we led the charge that one time on this kid stuff, and so it ends up, I end up going one way, he goes somewhere else. And again, I think this isn't about me. This isn't at all about me. I'm not saying I went through anything rough or anything like that. So when he left, we kept in touch. We'd probably write each other every week, every other week, just sharing. You know, he would tell me how many people are there, from where, what's going on, the latest institution gossip. And eventually he's like, hey, I'm the shot caller for this dorm. And then other people who would like come across him and come across me, he'd be like, yeah, you know, he's a G. He's over there running things and socking fools up. And, you know, he wasn't a disco bunny anymore. You know, he was a gangster. And then he got out, and when he paroled to the same city that I'm from, because his grandma lived here. And he had told me that, and, you know, when you get out, let's hang out, and we were going to kick it, you know. And it also happened that later on at a different place, you know, I became good friends with some people that some I'm still really close to. We're still, everywhere we see each other, we stop, we catch up, we're cool. You know, I get invited to their parties, they get invited to mine. And there was someone else that was there that was close like that, and we were supposed to hang out on Saturday. I got out on a Thursday. On a Friday, he killed somebody. I saw it on the news, so we never got to kick it. But this other guy, you know, we wrote each other. We kept each other abreast of what was going on with us, and like we just had this friendship based on having started out in the same place. And having each other's back against whatever happened, and feeling like you're elite somehow. And he gets out, he paroles to here, and you know, he's a gangster now. So he does like probably the most gangster of careers you could do in some ways. You know, he's robbing drug dealers. And it didn't go on for very long before, you know, I think he was killed. Allegedly. I don't know. I just know that by 21, he was no longer with us. And he got there as, you know, wide-eyed and worried disco bunny that, you know, like I said, he already knew people from the streets. They ran in the same circles. Thug fools go to clubs too, and all that. So he didn't get to YA because he was an angel to begin with. So, you know, he'd been to juvenile hall before he got there. But he got there and he took to it, and he got out and was on one, and it it cost him his life. And so, I was talking yesterday about decisions and how good ones open doors for you and bad ones close doors for you. And like today, just with this cool, convivir with gente, where I'm getting the food at, we're chopping it up, getting to know each other. Other neighbors or raza come through there to get food. We're just conversating and talking about tunas and health and just everything. And then, looking out for neighbors just because they're your neighbors. You want to live by people's happiness and them, blessing you back. And he missed all that. He missed seeing his kids, do good things and say I love you when they leave the house. Come home and show you that they got good grades and want to spend time with you, and having friends that like, hey man, I grew these tomatoes and these peppers and I'm gonna stop by and bless you with some stuff, and like, oh, all right, I got friends that like that they got pretty good reputations, and they're not above inviting me over and like, hey man, check this out, this is how I cook this. It like just cranking out some shit that I'd be like, damn, I'd have to pay $80 for this at a restaurant. And like all these good things, all these good things about life, man. Picking a fresh fruit off a tree and just eating it. Walking around the remate and seeing everybody happy and kids looking at toys and candies. I'm gonna take my granddaughter today. That's why I bring that up. And just all these things, man, that was missed out on, because his life ended just way too short. And it was about getting caught up in this aura of fulfilling some kind of image we were expected or to live up to, a definition other people set for us of how we should be. And he excelled at it such that it cost him his life. And we were probably in that bunkies for about maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks before we each went our ways. But we always kept in touch. And I was 17, he was 17, I think. And so it's been over 30 years, going on 35. And I never forgot about him. I didn't forget about anyone really that was there at that time. It just created such an impression on me. Like I do wonder about everybody, but that was my homie. That was my homie. He was cool. We capped. We clowned fools. He was cool, man. Rest in peace to him. I'm sorry for the suffering his family went through. And just for, the wasted talent, all the lost opportunities that he could have had. So that's my message today. Decisions, again, good ones open doors, bad ones close doors. So try to make good decisions and see how many doors you could open, how many things you can experience that you might have never even imagined. Have a good day. Much love.